In this video, we're going to look at using the Limelight bar stack and an introduction to launching Limelight in sections. So let's get started by adding a Limelight stack to the page. Now we're going to add a bit of content to this, and let's have a map, let's have an image, and let's have some stacks content in which we'll just put a paragraph stack. Now, if you've watched the introduction, you'll know the one golden rule with Limelight is that each lightbox has to have its own ID. So we'll leave the first one at lightbox 1, and just for simplicity, we'll just call them lightbox 2 and lightbox 3. You'd probably give them more descriptive names in reality. So with our default content that's in here, we've got a set of 3 lightboxes now that will work already. And we'll drop a Limelight bar stack onto the page. Now this is going to generate a link for every Limelight lightbox that's inside the Limelight stack with an ID of Limelight 1. So if we look in our bar settings, we can see this bar is going to be generated from a Limelight with an ID of Limelight 1. And here is this Limelight's ID at the top of the settings, Limelight 1. So the default settings for the first bar you add will just work. So let's just take a quick look at that in preview. And we'll see that we've now got 3 Limelights, our map, our image, and our stacks content. Now the buttons all say My Limelight on them, and that's because we haven't told them to say anything else. So if you look in the stack settings, there's a bar menu text entry just here, so we could say location, and we'll call the image, and we'll call the stacks content unimaginative. And now when we preview our bar, we've got 3 buttons. At the moment they're completely unstyled, but we'll come to that. So we've got our location, our image, and our stacks content. Okay, so that's pretty easy to use. Why do we need it? It's not immediately apparent, because you think, well, I don't usually launch a lightbox from a group of buttons like that. And that's true, but we can use it to make other structures. And this is where we come on to launching in a section. I'm not going to go into all the bar details here, but suffice to say there's a lot of styling. You can style the active button. We can see it goes green when we've got style active on. You can use various styles from Bootstrap, Foundation, Pro Styles, and Custom Styles. So when might we need to use this bar? Well, it's predominantly when we're Limelighting in another stack. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a section to the page, and we're going to Limelight this content into the section. So instead of launching full screen modal, we're going to launch in a section. And let's just call this section that we want to launch in sec1. Okay, and that's the section ID that you will also see here, sec1 at the top of the section settings. Now this doesn't have to be a section. This is just a class name, so you can launch in anything with a known class name. The advantage of using a section or a blueprint or a few of my other stacks will be that you can animate the existing content if you want that to zoom out as your lightbox zooms in, things like that. At the moment that's not an issue because we haven't got any other content. So that's all we need to do, is just give the section an ID. So now instead of being a full screen modal, this Limelight is going to appear in that section. So you can see we get some options down here for how it does that. And the most important one is this host sizing. So we've got scale content to the host stack. Now if you've got a full screen section or a known height section or a section with other content in it, you can keep that height and float the Limelight content over the top of it. It will scroll if it's bigger than the section. In this case, we've got an empty section. So we want to scale the host stack, which is the section, to our content. And this is going to behave a bit like a set of tabs that grow and shrink vertically depending on the height of the tab content. And that size of the grow and shrink vertically is given by this resize speed here. So we'll leave that at 480 milliseconds for now, because you'll see it happen then. You probably want it a bit faster than that in reality. It's a bit slow. So with that done, let's see what we've got now. Well, on the page we've still got our Limelight bar, and we'll click on our location, and now the map is launching in the section, not on the page. And we can still see our bar now because it's no longer in a full screen modal, it's in the section. Now we haven't told it to constrain its size at all, so the map was going almost full screen. You can now see the background bit of the Limelight behind the image. If we go to our stacks content, that's full width, so you can't see the background. Okay, so we probably wouldn't want a background normally when we're doing this, when we're limelighting in a section. We'd want to stretch our content to the section. Okay, so we'll go back to the stacks content, and you can see the height of the Limelight is growing and shrinking according to that 480 milliseconds. So we've made a set of rudimentary tabs, except they're not so rudimentary, they're quite powerful. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that into a column stack, just into a standard 2 column stack. Let's make it a bit wider than 50/50. It's just going to stop it going quite so big on the screen. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just make the background white, because we don't really want to see the background. And go to our tab stack and go back to preview. So let's go to our image, and there it is in the section. What I'm actually going to do is I'm also going to put the tab stack in that column above the section, and then we'll go back to preview. And you can start to see now how it starts to look like a set of tabs. Okay. We can do some more things with the bar setup if you want to make it look more like tabs. We can change its appearance to tabs. So now they've got, still pretty unstyled because we're not using any theme here, but they've got rounded tops and they look like tabs. We'd probably want to have one of our tabs open on page load. So let's say the maps, we'll have that open on page load. So now when we go back to our page, we've got a set of tabs with the location highlighted. You could perhaps have an image of your premises and stacks content. Let's just sort out that image while we're here. Instead of using the lightbox settings, let's make that image full width, because I think it'll look better in the context of tabs. There we go. So now we've got a nice full width image. And we might have some stacks content, perhaps a contact form, perhaps describing how to find you, directions, and so on and so forth. What else can we do with the bar stack? Well, we can make it look a bit more. Let's go back to our preview, and let's just go to the stacks content. I'll show you why. We can turn this into something that looks very much like a set of tabs just by clicking this one tab borders on section. Okay, so now that has now added a border around the section and a border around the tabs. If I make the border color something garish, I missed that yellow. Okay, so now you can see that the border follows under the inactive tabs, so they're behind, and the active tab floats into the section. If we made the active button, for instance, white, you'll see it starts to look more like a normal set of tabs. I haven't changed the text color, but there we go. Let's change that text color. Right, so we're starting to see it behaving like a set of tabs would. And it's very, very easy to do that, and very, very powerful given that you've got all these different content types built in. So just that example of a contact form, maps, descriptions, images of the premises, so on and so forth. It's very simple to do. There are also full responsive settings for the alignment. So for instance, those tabs could be set to fill. Now they automatically stretch to fill. You can have them right align center. You can also have them vertical for mobile or vertical for desktop if you want. So if you wanted a different sort of arrangement, you could put them in the adjoining column and would say we'll have them vertical. Preview that, and now we've got a set of vertical tabs along the left. Okay, so very, very easy to use, and a basic introduction to lightboxing, a Limelight in a section. There's another video that you can watch regarding launching Limelights into other stacks on the page, and this is more advanced and it covers making navigation structures and lazy loading of content so that you can transition between pages and things like that. So have a look at that one if you're interested, and thanks for watching this one.